What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 301 of Opinions May Vary. I'm your host, JR, my co-host with me, Alex.
Hello.
Joining us this week is Joshua Williams. Josh, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm actually very honored.
Oh, stop. It only took 3 takes to get this right. I'm just calling right out. Nobody needed to know, but now they know. But I'm really excited to get going with this one. Alex, I'm going to let you give us some background here into what exactly is going on.
Josh and I worked together a while ago for a couple of years at a local theme park, and he was one of our haunt actors. We're big on haunt stuff here on the podcast. All of our October episodes usually have something to do with scary, spooky stuff.
That sounds awesome. I'm going to start tuning in.
We've had upwards of like 15 people that we've met just through. We used to scare people together.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, it's been great, and like from other parts of the state and everything, and so we've kept in touch, and it's fun seeing people grow and like mature and like move on to new things, because what a lot of people don't realize is like how much actual acting there is in haunting, but
That's why I suck at it.
because like we get singers who haunt, we get actors who haunt and everything, and watching you move on has been a lot of fun and really cool, and you do stuff that like people, the internet is littered with videos of people trying to do this stuff and not being that good at it. But your stuff,
Our friend's cooler than your friend, so
that's pretty true. But Josh does a lot of parkour, and recently I see you've started teaching or instructing.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
That's right.
And that's at
I coach parkour in Indian Orchard. I've been coaching for about 5 weeks, so this class is very new. I coach on 30 Parker Street at 5 p.m. on Saturdays. It's an hour-and-a-half class. And yeah, my class starts at the ages of 5 and up. So far, I've got like 6 kids coming in, but it's a good start for me. So
nice. How long have you been doing parkour and stuff?
I've-
Or like what would you call everything that you do physically? Like was there like a background to it? Was there martial arts or gymnastics or anything?
I actually started in high school. To answer your first question,
Yeah.
I've been doing parkour for about 10 years. But I basically, like, my physical activity started in high school. So I quit the football team to become a cheerleader because I thought all of their jumps were amazing. The fact that they could jump so high and then do crazy things with their legs. So I joined, and I started learning stuff about that. Shortly after that, a friend showed me a video on YouTube of a simple skill in parkour called a Kong vault. It's just jumping over an obstacle using your hands.
Yeah.
And I saw that, and I immediately got interested and just started doing it over the trash can in my backyard.
just that one move.
That one
like
move.
that's what did it.
That was it.
That's awesome.
And yeah,
Way back when I was in high school, a long time ago, there was a kid who was on our team, on the wrestling team.
okay.
Tough dude, really strong. And there was like a pep rally for the basketball team, and people start calling this kid out. I was like, he's not on the basketball team. And I don't recall his name, but like they're like, hey, because all the cheerleaders were like doing their cheer thing. And I think Dino was his name. And he gets down, like takes off his shoes and breaks into this sprint and starts doing all these flips across the gym floor, like in front of all the stands. It's like the cheerleaders aren't doing this. And here's
my
Dino
gosh.
doing this series of flips. It was incredible.
That's awesome.
I'm like, here's like, because wrestling's like, it's this masculine sport, but we also get a lot of flack for being like homosexual. It's like, oh, you're just rolling around dudes. It's like, whatever. We're trying to hurt each other. Shut up.
We're cool.
And like, and I was like, I had no idea he could do this. And apparently he would do it all the time in football too.
Oh,
Yeah. Not
That's
like on the
intense.
field, but
Yeah.
he's goofing off in practice. So no, I get it. Like just being able to lift yourself up and do these jumps and stuff with your own body. It's like,
Precisely.
why would you have to hit someone else when you could just do this on your own?
There you go.
Awesome.
That's great.
You had mentioned when we were chatting in pre-show, because you mentioned your teaching, you got your certification. You said that you got that from adaptive movement.
That's right.
Which is the most meta thing ever. Because like we had Scott on, God, like 2 years ago.
It was in year 5.
Was it?
He was like one of our first. He had to be like 250, 60 something.
Yeah, and that's when they were running the Kickstarter to get adaptive movement going, because they're moving in the new building and all that stuff. And now there's certified trainers coming out of that institution, which is it's just super rad. But ever since that one move, 10 years ago, watching on YouTube, it's kind of snowballed. Like what kept you into it? Because like parkour was huge for a little while, and then it kind of faded out, and now it's almost kind of making a comeback. Like as far as like the internet goes and all that stuff. Like what kept you in it? Going through the years.
Well, at that age, I'd kind of noticed that myself, as well as all of the other kids around that age group, were kind of looking for their place in the world, and to kind of like bring that to a smaller perspective. They were looking for something to follow. Like, so you would have kids who would start little biker groups, or you'd have kids who start rollerblading groups, and kids who start skateboarding groups and stuff like that. And I was like, well, I mean, I play sports, but that's not where I want to take. Like, everybody's doing that already, so let me just try something no one's doing. And parkour was right there. It's like a slap in the face, and so I just followed.
So you mentioned you started off with this move called the Kong.
That's right.
And one of the things I've been trying to follow is so it's not like a regular sport where it's like all the positions in basketball have names, and all the
Right.
Where you're shooting from, like there's a name for that position, and I'm like, at what like is there a dictionary of what each parkour move is, like how you jump over stuff, or what each specific flip is? Or like when I see videos that Scott would share, friends, which because Brett's done a few, where they're flipping and they're turning sideways and flipping a bunch of times, and I'm like, how is that?
Somehow one's better than the other.
Why is there a name for that one? But I don't know where the names came from, and how everyone from across the country can do the same thing and know what it's supposed to be. Like, how come they don't call it different things? Like, I don't know where that comes together.
So each skill in parkour over the time, because parkour is, in my opinion, about 16 years old. It came around in 2000. Or almost 18 years old, because 2018 is coming.
Right.
But it came around in 2000. That's when people started seeing it more often because of a couple big documentaries that came out. And with that being said, as more athletes got into it, they would just follow behind the names that the skills were already given. So Kong vault, cat pass, or simple things like that. But then parkour started to evolve into this thing where whatever athlete did it, they would bring what they used to do into it. So, for example, you have martial artists who are now high-level parkour athletes, or gymnasts who are high-level parkour athletes, or skateboarders. Or there's one who's really high up in the ranks right now. His name is Dom Tomato, or Tomato. And he used to be a figure skater. So the fact that he was really good at figure skating and finding himself spatial awareness on ice makes his style so unique because of how he twists and simple things like that. So people kind of bring their own style into it. But to kind of go back and answer your question, now as it's becoming more of a familiar skill or sport, I think parkour does have a dictionary. I've never thought about looking it up, but I feel like it grows. Like, your vocabulary of parkour starts to grow as you grow with it. Like, the more you look things up, the more you'll understand what they are and stuff like that.
Because this will lead into you're doing competitions now.
That's right.
Like you were saying, what was this one, just in Brooklyn?
Yes, in Brooklyn.
And so in a parkour competition, like, who are there judges? Like, what are they grade on?
There were judges. So the judges, this particular one, this is my second competition.
Okay.
And both of the judging were different for both competitions. So for this competition that I just finished, they were judging on skill, in terms of difficulty, fluidity, so the transitions between skills,
right?
Creativity, which is self-explanatory, and then cleanliness.
Okay.
And for parkour, cleanliness means something as simple as landing a flip and putting your hands down or not putting your hands down.
Okay.
So if you land a flip and put your hands down and that isn't a transition, then that's points off of cleanliness.
Is that just what they call it? Or they call it dirty?
No, they don't call it. So it kind of ties in with difficulty. It's just about how comfortable you are with this skill.
Okay.
Oh, excuse me.
Is it one of those things where like there's home team advantage because they know what the course is and they've been on it a bunch of times?
No. That's
Really?
actually the cool part. So parkour gyms are I have yet to go to a parkour gym or see videos of a parkour gym that looks similar to any other parkour gym. Except
Okay.
I guess the Tempest gyms because they've got more than one gym.
Okay.
But even those gyms look different. But they have different layouts, different walls and levels and bars and crazy things like that. And they have also got movable apparatus.
Mhm.
So with that being said, they take arrows, like cardboard arrows,
Okay.
and they'll just put them on random points in the obstacle course. And then that's how they decide what your obstacle is for either a speed challenge or they'll give you certain boundaries for a skill challenge or yeah.
So it's not like here is your course, and it's not like freestyle skateboarding where it's like you do whatever you'd like. Now I'm going over to this side, I'm going to do this. Now I'm going to go over here. It's you have to go to certain obstacles and do you have to do certain I don't want to say moves, there's skills. Is that what it's like the correct terminology? Like
Yeah.
you have to do a particular skill off of this obstacle and like everyone is judged on how well they did that, or is it more
So the two forms of competition that I did, excuse me, there were two different events in the competition. One was speed and one was style. The style competition is more like freestyle skating, where you have the entire course to freely do as you please. And
Right.
then the four the four things that I was talking about earlier for judging is what they judge you on. And then speed is when they would use the arrows to set things up and give you a certain course.
right?
So, for example, a red arrow has to pass your left shoulder, or green arrow has to pass your right shoulder.
Huh.
So it tells you when to turn, when not to turn, and how fast to go, and crazy stuff like that. It sounds complicated, but when you see it and try to get it in your head, you're like, all right, so they just have to go this way and this way. All right.
While doing incredible acts
Exactly.
of body movements.
It's even tapping into like nautical directions and everything. That's where I know it from. Like when you're driving a boat, like you stay on between the red and the green. You don't go over one side because one
Ooh.
side's like oncoming water traffic and the other side's land.
I wonder if that's where they got that from.
I have no idea.
That's all I know about
Sounds
like
similar.
you stay on one side.
Parkour
of
and
the green.
boating.
Yeah.
Tomato, tomato.
You know they go together so well.
You could probably make a pretty dope arena out of like a harbor,
Oh, that'd be so awesome.
right? You're welcome, everyone. Build it someday.
Did you face any? I don't want to use the term like adversarial interactions. Like when you're starting off and like, you know, they don't have gyms. They just have like, you know, the city. And like when you're trying to practice.
This college campus.
Yeah, yeah. Did you encounter like many problems of like, you can't do that here. You don't have insurance. And
Over the years I have, it's been I've learned to deal with it is how often it happens.
yeah.
So, for example, downtown Springfield, I go to the courthouse, the Justice Hall.
Which I recognize in some of your videos.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And we're not allowed to train there before 5 p.m. So every time we do show up and do a little something, the security guards will come out and tell us we can't go, we can't do our thing there. But then after 5 p.m., that literally becomes the hot spot for all extreme sports. Bikers, skateboarders, freerunners, everyone shows up there, and it's like, I don't know.
Is that just because that's when they close, or is that like an agreement everyone has?
No, it's when they close.
Okay.
No one's around when they close, and even sometimes the security guards would tell us, just come back after 5. Nobody's here.
Oh shit. Well, that's cool.
There's also been times that I think is really cool is we'll be at different spots downtown Springfield or even in other cities, and police officers would tell us, well, they'll come up to us and warn us about complaints and stuff like that, and then they'll invite us to go to a different spot in the city that they think we won't get in trouble for.
Oh shit.
So it's like they respect what we do. I've even gotten invited to train or to show off some of my skills by a police officer, and all I was doing was walking up the street.
You say like maybe it's because I'm biased, but how could you complain? There's a guy over there flipping. I don't like it. Like what? Like I get like skateboarding. Like hey, he's grinding his board on my shit. Stop messing up my stuff. Like, but like oh he pushed off the wall and flipped. I feel the need to call the police about this.
Sometimes if you do it in front of your friends, there's groups.
Right.
So if someone hits something really cool, you know they're going to cheer.
Right.
It's like, well, no, there's a noise complaint. Or I don't know. It depends. Or you know, if a skateboarder falls off his board, and the board's going to keep going
right
into someone's path. You know, there might be I don't know, outside interference that people may be worried about. Or yeah, sometimes you're just curmudgeonly and grumpy.
I'm gonna go with that one. Yeah. It fits my rhetoric, so that's what I'm gonna.
The biggest amount of complaints that we've got have been from like I won't say government officials, but people who work inside the office buildings or buildings that we're around when we're training. Mm-hmm. So they'll just come out and you know wave the liability finger at us and
right,
yeah.
You know they're thinking about your safety and not their own, you know,
or getting
lawsuit.
sued because
we have to buy another sign that says no parkour tricking here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever seen a sign that says no.
I've seen no skateboarding.
I've seen those, but I don't think I've ever seen like a no parkour, no I don't know what like another word for it would be. Like do those exist? Have you seen? This is the dumbest question I've ever asked, but I'm actually super interested.
Yeah, they're all over rooftops that we've never been on.
Exactly. We don't have the ability to see them.
Because it's been growing the most in the UK and I want to say France or areas around the UK and France. Signs have started to show up there, so people are getting more accustomed to it being a daily thing in Europe. So I've only seen signs on videos, like other people's videos, but nowhere here yet.
Good.
I'm glad the police like respect like what you guys are doing, because it's one of those things of like well, that's when someone's like, oh, you know, let them go roller skate, let them go do the thing, because as long as they have an activity, like, oh, they won't be in a gang, they won't be doing all this other bad we're worried about.
Exactly.
You know, as long as more people recognize like they're just having fun and being athletic.
There you go.
Well, why stop that?
There was one time that I got arrested. It sucked. It sucked so bad. I was on a rooftop. This was actually kind of cool. I had me and my freerunning team.
It's already cool. You said you're on a rooftop. You know how many rooftops I've ever been on? Like 2.
It took me 5 minutes to get up the ladder. I was
shaking. Terrified.
My dad yelled at me to hand the hammer. Like, I dropped it though.
Anyways, so rooftop.
There's actually a bunch of abandoned buildings downtown Springfield, but we found this particular one that was huge inside and out. It had great levels and stuff like that. It was fun for training. So we took it upon ourselves to call it the HQ, headquarters. Okay. And that's where we would go mainly to train. And it was getting cold, so we would train indoors. It was a big office building that wasn't being used anymore. And it had a lot of leftover construction stuff that we would just set up and use it for training.
Okay.
So one day we would go up there, and it was a day during the week. I guess this is like the first or second time we decided to do it during the week in the daytime. But we got so comfortable with it that we didn't think people would care. Long story short, going up, a woman had saw us and called the police. Now we were doing something. We were getting ready to like have this little whiteboard meeting and stuff like that about how our training is going to go.
Okay.
Because the rest of the team was getting ready to show up.
It's very organized.
Yeah, but there were no markers, so we decided to leave. And leaving had to do with climbing down from the rooftop. So we got down and we realized that K9 unit was called on us. And as soon as we got down, the police officer told us, you were very lucky because they just sent a K9 on you guys. They had no idea why we were in there, but I guess it got to the level of investigation that they had to like send a K9.
No warning either, huh?
Yeah.
Jesus.
So things, you know, the police officers had found out what we were doing, and we told them there was no vandalism. We explained to them how we get up, how we get down, what the building looks like. They went and saw for themselves that we were, you know, that our story was true. And they were like, all right, well, I mean, you guys aren't doing anything bad, but we're going to have to ask you guys not to use this building anymore. So we understood that. and they didn't arrest us.
Right.
Now, we had told them that we were going to leave and come back before even finding out that the police were there. And we needed to get our backpacks because the police were telling us we had to leave. So we said, hey, can we go get our bags? The police officer was like, I didn't see anything. Go ahead. And that's when the woman the person, I don't know why I think it's a woman, but that's when the person who had called the police on us the first time called again, complaining that we were let go. Because let go and then back to the building. So,
Right.
On our way down from getting our backpacks, the police officer called us over and told us that he had to arrest us. And
had he left, or he was just still there?
he was still there. Like I guess he was pulling around the corner when dispatch told him that you got to do something about those kids.
Jesus.
Yeah.
How many people were how many of you guys were there? Did they have to call in multiple cars?
Oh no, it was just 2 of us.
Oh, okay.
But they did have 3 cars there.
Right. Jesus Christ.
I don't understand that, but hey.
I had a friend who was on a beach somewhere and walked out on the jetty, where they have all the rocks piled up. It's because some beaches you can just go out on the rocks and go crabbing and look for stuff or whatever.
Okay.
But apparently this beach, that was a no-no. Oh. And a Coast Guard boat came up and a cop in a Jeep came up. And when they got back, the cop was lifeguard, whoever it was like, oh, you're not supposed to down there. And my friend was like, well, how about you just say you gave me a fine for $40 or whatever, and we'll just call it even.
Jesus.
Did that work?
It did.
It did.
I would never I would just be terrified. Even just getting pulled over, I'm shaking. Because it's just that I'm getting in trouble.
Yeah.
Growing up, when a teacher yelled at me.
It's the new principal's office.
Yeah, it was exactly. Exactly.
That one phone call to your parents.
Exactly. Right? God, just the worst. Anyways.
So let's move on to another reason why you're here, which I'm really psyched about.
Cool.
Because I don't want to say it's it's cooler than everything else you've done. The abilities that you have and watching the videos and all the flips and your athleticism, that's all incredibly impressive. I get winded walking up the stairs to my job.
Oh.
Respect.
When I get up from this chair, I'm gonna have kind of a weird limp in my hip.
Oh man.
But I'm old, so
We've also been sitting for many hours.
I've also had spine surgery.
And we're all chugging Mountain Dew.
Blame it on that.
We're all talking Mountain Dew.
But for a while, you were in the Marvel Universe stunt show.
That's right.
Which this was its second iteration.
Yes.
Yeah. And because I recall, we brought up our friend Scott Hoffman from Adaptive Movement Parkour and some of his past friends, because we know Paul, and I've also worked doing makeup zombie stuff with Khalif, and Khalif got into the first iteration of the show, and I don't recall how long he was in that for, but I was like, that's really cool, and I really want to talk to Khalif about it. And then he's now he's in Black Panther doing amazing stuff.
Yeah.
And
so cool.
And then I saw that you got involved, and I was like, no shit, that's awesome.
Yes.
And as Black Panther.
I know.
So it's even cooler.
So we're gonna get into talking about how cool you are and how cool that is, as if you're not cool enough already.
Yeah. Not only can flipping stuff, but also flipping stuff in front of thousands of people as the coolest characters in the world.
Can you tell us how you got that gig? What did that take?
So, let's see. In the beginning of the summer, me and my freerunning team, we were brainstorming ideas and ways that we could help each other with our outside passions to help us build as a freerunning team, so that we wouldn't just look like a bunch of kids who know how to flip. We wanted to kind of reach further than that and become something more professional. With that being said, my friend Josh Ortiz, his girlfriend at the time, became the secretary of our group. And we basically told her what our skills are and what we aspire to do. Small goals, so we didn't bombard her with all kinds of homework and stuff.
Right.
But then she would go around looking for different opportunities for us as we continued to build towards the team. And out of nowhere, she found the Marvel Universe Live auditions. So
You just happened upon it.
she just found it on Google. She found a flyer and like sent it to me.
Uh-huh.
So at the time, I really, really, really thought this was like a crazy idea, but I was so hopeful. It was the greatest feeling ever. But she found it for me and she showed me. And then I told my friends, I was like, guys, we have to do this. All of us. The guys was like, I don't know. Blah, blah, blah. I was like, all right, well, I want to do it. Even still, they supported me so much and it was great. So now I'm still in this mindset of this might just be an empty dream that I'm giving too much hope and effort to. But I started looking into it and I started thinking about what if I went to the auditions. There was a list of cities that they were doing auditions in, and it turned out that the one in Boston had already passed.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I took a lot of time and I prayed on it. That's exactly what I did. I prayed as hard as I could because my overall goal in life is to become a stunt actor. So to do my own stunts, but also to be an actor. I want to be in action movies. I love action. And so I prayed on it, and slowly but surely everything started to fall into place. So God was definitely looking out. I had planned the trip to Florida, and mind you, this is my very first time ever being on an airplane. Ever. Like I'm born and raised in Springfield, Massachusetts, never been out of Massachusetts. So my very first time being on a plane was last February. I took the trip to Florida, to Orlando, and I was on International Drive, so it's like not too far from Disney. There's all kinds of games and attractions and great places to eat and stuff. It was great. I was on freaking vacation while going to audition for something.
Yeah, that gets weird.
Yeah, I know.
Because like you want to party and like
I'm supposed to be serious
be
right
a
now.
tourist, but like you've got work to do. Yeah.
So once again, just saying that, kind of going back to the fact that everything fell in place, people helped me out. I was sponsored from a lot of friends and family, and even from my job as the gymnastics coach. The gymnastics gym sponsored me $200. Some of the coaches outside of the gymnastics gym sent me $200, and altogether I had about $1,000 to pay for the trip and the hotel. And I didn't have an expensive hotel, but
Still, like, that's such a massive help. Like,
and ends were able to meet, and I was so grateful. I still am to this day. The hotel was literally like a 10-minute walk down the road from the circus school where they were having the audition.
Okay.
So the day comes for the audition, and I just walk down the road, and it's the coolest circus school ever, by the way. And then I have the audition, and during the audition, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna be calm and do what I do. Because I guess when you give 100%, you can't regret. Because I guess
you gave it your all.
You gave it your all. So next time you go, you're going to learn more of your all to have, and then go give that. But I went for the audition, and it was great. There were 3 waves to the audition. The first was just for stamina and cardio to see how well you can work under while being tired.
Yeah.
I passed that. The second one was hand-eye coordination, for lack of better words. They just basically wanted to see how well you could learn choreography.
Right.
And then the third one was teamwork related choreography. Speaking on the third one, which was the final stage, means that I made it all the way through, and I'm once again very grateful that I have all the skill and ability to learn that far. So now it comes to the end of the audition, and I still haven't gotten kicked out or told that I have to leave. Feels great.
Always good.
Are you like watching other people like drop out?
I did. I saw a bunch of other people leave. It started at 30 and ended at 18.
Okay. Is when you're in that kind of scenario, because for I guess I've never had to audition like that. Like I've gone to one important audition in New York and like didn't get anywhere with it, but I don't know if people like make friends while they're waiting in line, or while they're hanging out, and or like, oh well, what do you do? This is what I do, and then like you've all traveled or you're trying to gain do this thing, and it would be weird to make friends with someone and then see them leave, and you get to stay. Yeah, and it's almost like bye friends.
How long was the audition? Was it just one day? Like all three?
One day for about 5 hours.
Damn.
Actually, probably less than that. But yeah, just one day.
Yo, Jared, be athletic for 5 hours.
Yeah, no, thank you. I went to the gym after work yesterday, and I ran 1.5 miles, and I was like, I'm good for the week. That's probably fine.
That's enough.
So, have you done other performing besides that before this? I mean, aside from, doing haunt actor stuff at the park?
I have.
Really?
With my church,
Mm-hmm.
I am one of the actors for their videos. They do a lot of large, high media videos.
Mm-hmm.
So they get posted on YouTube, or they get used for a certain series that our pastor is going to be speaking on.
Mm-hmm.
And they use me as an actor. This past video is something similar to like a Nike commercial where they're trying to show how hard the struggle is as an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, they show the victory of the athlete.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't so much a Nike video, but it was similar in that idea.
Right.
But aside from the things that I do with church, I've also done Shakespeare in high school.
Okay.
My first Shakespeare play, I got the second lead role, which was Macbeth in the Macduff play. It's pretty interesting. And besides that,
Shakespeare
I've done
is not easy.
no way.
But going back to the audition, so you said it went from 30 down to 18.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really interested to hear like the rest of this process. Like,
Okay.
so you go down, you go through the 3 things, like you make it to the last wave or heat or what happens after that?
They gather contact information, and I went home.
Okay, cool story.
No, exactly. But in my mind at the time, I was so upset. I was so bad because I felt like I went down and I put all that effort and I wasted time. But I didn't let it drag me down. I kept doing my thing. I kept training. I kept growing.
Like, did you expect to get hired on the spot and be like, all right, you're booked?
That's exactly what I was looking for. I didn't I had no idea how the audition would work. So
Right.
I was like, all right, maybe I'm just going to I'm here and I'm never going home.
This is it.
But yeah, so 2 months go by, and they call me in the beginning of the summer. And this is funny. They call me about 2 times. The first call is because on my resume, I had put that I have stilting experience. Thank you, Six Flags. So they were like, do you know how to flip on stilts? What kind of stilting skills do you have? I was like, I can only walk and jump and run. They're
More
like,
than
"Oh."
what most people can do.
Yeah.
Was it just like the carpenter stilts or
No,
the kinetics?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Skip stilts.
Yeah.
So they were like, oh man, well maybe we'll just have to ask someone else that we saw that, because they were basically letting me know that because I had the experience, they wanted to talk to me and see how far my experience is. But they were also saying that if it doesn't work out, then they would just give me a phone call. Then the next week, I got another phone call from them, and I was actually very ecstatic. I was like, oh, okay, what other skills did they look at my list? And but then they called me asking basically right away, how available am I? And I was like, what do you mean? And they were basically letting me know that they want me to come on tour. I was the best day of my life. I felt like I was getting a phone call from American Ninja Warrior.
Did you know, like, when they like offered that, did they tell you like, we want you to do this character, or like what like how in depth is that or is it like we want you to do it, we'll talk to you in a little bit?
No, they went right off the back and gave me details about characters. When I auditioned, it was mainly Black Panther. Like they had the idea in their head. All right, you're auditioning, and Black Panther. I'm just gonna put you in that role, and that's something that I had to learn as part of my audition process. Was something that Black Panther would do.
Right.
But when they gave me that phone call,
So like you specifically, or like was
Yes.
everyone? Because like in the group, were they looking at something like, all right, well maybe you'll be like a Spider-Man and you'll be like a Captain America?
they are very gender specific, gender and ethnicity specific.
Okay.
So, in the show, Spider-Man doesn't ever come out of his costume.
Right.
So you could have a shorter African American kid in the Spider-Man suit, but since Black Panther was a new character, they wanted someone to be as close in resemblance as possible, not only for character purposes but for PR purposes.
So this audition was like casting the entire show.
Exactly.
Okay. Did they already have other people, or do you know?
They
Or
do.
was-
They had a whole casting pool, and they
Okay.
still hold auditions even though the show is fully cast.
Okay. So like at the audition, they were just trying to like narrow it down and be like, I think it'll be a good fit for
Exactly. And
Okay.
it's funny.
Okay.
One of the guys who was teaching the choreography, he was like, "Yeah, it's literally because you're black," but he didn't mean any disrespect. He was,
Right. Yeah. You just can't be Starlet. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. I forget your previous question.
Well, I'm super curious about the process. So like they call you, they tell you you're in, like what happens after that?
So after they had given me the phone call, they had basically told me about a bunch of characters they had in mind. Black Panther being the first, Iron Man because of my build, Groot because of my stilt experience, and then Chitauri because that's like those are the most. They get a lot of Chitauri. in
That
the
was
show.
one of my
Right.
questions. Like, for some shows when there's the generic thug, or even you have the hero character, but if he's not on stage, he might have to switch costumes and fill in as generic thug number 5. And I like, did you have to do any of these switches, like, or were you Black Panther the entire time?
No, when I was in the show, I was in the show as an understudy.
Okay.
So I've gotten to see that. I was allowed to see the show a bunch of times.
Uh-huh.
But I never performed in the show. I was never on the stage performing for any of the audiences. The reason why I had a temporary contract is because they wanted to train me, and just in case one of the characters gets hurt, then I'm a backup call. So in the event that someone gets hurt, they'll give me a call.
Right.
I actually was speaking with one of the cast members about 2 weeks ago because they were basically letting me know that I'm still relevant. They had a whole meeting about
Nice.
so on and so forth. So that felt pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the overall idea of me being there. Now I was allowed to try on the mask and the outfit for Black Panther, and it was so cool. But yeah.
Did you? So there wasn't a point where like, you might be, one of the Chitauri or one of like Loki's goons or whatever.
I learned all of the tracks for Chitauri,
Okay.
as well as Black Panther, and I learned some of the tracks for Iron Man.
Okay.
But yeah, my job was basically to just study as many of the tracks as possible. Once again, I didn't get into any of the costumes, and I didn't even get to do much of the rehearsal. But learning a lot of it was my job.
That's so rad. And was this a touring show?
It was. So I was basically on tour with them for the 5 weeks that I was working.
That's so rad.
We started in Louisiana, in New Orleans, and when they brought me down there, that was the very first show. So after performing at Louisiana, we flew to LA. And then they performed there. Mind you, the entire time I'm still doing my studies and I'm still training and learning and stuff. And then we drove to Ontario. And then after that, that's when I flew home. But yeah, I was literally doing the week-to-week basis with them.
That's awesome. Is that intimidating at all? Like having to learn the choreography and the tracks, you call them? What's
the tracks? What do you mean by intimidating?
You're gonna have to do. You have this entire stage to work with, and here's your blocking, and here's where you have to like. Oh, is that like your lines for the soundtrack? Is that what you mean? Learn the tracks.
No,
I'm not
tracks,
sure you meant by tracks.
Okay, I'm sorry. The tracks. There's a soundtrack for all the characters,
right.
So we're just doing the acting. We're not speaking or anything.
Right.
There's no microphones.
Yeah.
So the tracks that I learned were all the action stuff, like all the stage choreography, the stage combat, where to be at certain times in the soundtrack, and but yeah, the tracks was just a lot of the stage fighting that I learned.
But you didn't do stage fighting before that, right?
I did, but for Shakespeare.
Okay,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Which,
not as many
in
swords.
comparison, it's very, very. Yeah, exactly. I had swords.
We're gonna be saying that's cool and that's awesome a lot.
Yeah,
So-
there's
I'm
gonna
okay
be a
with
lot of. Oh my god, that's so cool. But like you mentioned how, like even just recently you're still talking. Like, did you build a lot of like lasting relationships just out of, like, you went down for an audition in Florida, and now you have, like lasting relationships with these people who you probably would have never met. Like, would you say that you have?
I did. First off, in the audition that I had, I built relationships right away. It was such an amazing atmosphere. The goal overall was to see how well people could work together from the casting agent's point of view.
Right.
So they wanted that family oriented kind of atmosphere, and it was really cool. I made I'm still in contact with some of the people that I've auditioned with. And then going on tour, once again, big happy family. I became friends on Instagram and Facebook with everybody who's on tour, the same way that Six Flags has separate chat groups for all of their entertainment, is what's happening for Marvel Universe Live. And I'm connected with them through Facebook and Instagram. They send videos, I send videos, and we comment on each other's. We watch each other grow. It's fun.
What's the level of fandom like amongst the group? Because like you've done, I mean, from Six Flags, you know some of the DC comics and everything. But I'm wondering, like, for the performers, like how much of that is like, well, I'm acting and I'm performing and this is what I want, versus like they're a fan of the movies or they're a fan of the comics.
Holy
like,
shit, I'm Groot. Like
I have, like, maybe I'm Rocket Raccoon, or I have my own Rocket cosplay at home too.
This is actually very cool. There's a guy named Omar. His name is Omar Zaki on YouTube. I highly recommend his videos. This guy is so cool. He's a parkour athlete as well. And he himself does Spider-Man parkour videos. It's so cool. He doesn't even play Spider-Man in the show, but he loves superheroes as well. And then a good friend of mine, Nick, who's also in the show, dude just loves superheroes. His favorite superhero is Daredevil. But aside from that, whenever we went to train or warm up or practice all of our
he would keep his eyes closed.
No. No. Whenever we would go train, before going on tour, I had bought a lot of the superhero Under Armours that you see on the internet.
Oh, yeah.
So he came up to me one day. He's like, dude, where'd you get all of that? Send me the link. He was like fangirling basically about it. And I was like,
nice.
Yes, bro, get this. But yeah, everyone loves it. And they're not even just like, they're not just fans of Marvel. They'll be fans of DC as well. Like I remember seeing a picture of almost the entire cast going to see the Justice League movie. So cool.
That is awesome. These are really nice stories. It's nice hearing about cool people doing fun stuff.
It's fun.
Especially in an industry that, you hear a lot of like the cutthroat, like,
and Diva and
yeah. It's just refreshing to hear like there seems to be a lot of camaraderie in that group. It's even for, like, cause it could be really easy to be bitter. Like you mentioned some people that, you went through auditions with who may not necessarily have been chosen. It could be really easy to be like, dude, whatever, man. Like, he got into the show, I didn't get, I don't even want to, I don't even want to talk about you. It could be really easy to fall down that route. Like, especially, it's just, you see it a lot. So to hear that, like, this group of people, like even the people who weren't necessarily chosen to be in the show are still so positive, and you still have those relationships. It's just, it's just great. I'm not going to say it's because comics are the best, but,
Hint, hint.
Exactly.
What do you have in your future? Anything lined up like that you're excited about?
After seeing Khalif on the trailer, I have been declaring over my life that in the next 2 years I'm going to be in the next Black Panther movie or in an Avengers movie.
Nice.
That is a declaration, and I'm going to do everything in my power to make that happen. But, okay.
At some point, did I see you say something about Ninja Warrior?
Yes, actually. I was just about to say short-term goals. I had auditioned last year for American Ninja Warrior. I'd sent in a submission video as well as the application. But I didn't get chosen, which is understandable. They choose people at random out of thousands who audition. So, chances are slim. And I didn't find out until it was too late. I didn't find out where they were holding the on-site qualifiers. So, but this year that's another challenge. I look at my previous video, not just for where I was in my athletics, but for like the quality of the video and what I posted, and kind of going over the notes in my head and the tips of what kind of things they want to look for in videos. So this year I'm trying to put together a really, really good video. And thank God for the experience that I had with Marvel, because I can use that to, you know, kind of build like a show reel-esque kind of video to submit. It was interesting. I started the application and I got a phone call by one of their casting agents because they saw my application, which I gave a lot of meaty details. And they were like, "Are you going to finish your application?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm just trying to put the video together." So I feel like there's some hope for this year.
Okay. For a while I thought it was more of the original Ninja Warrior. It always seemed like they were, you know, they're regular people who were just amazing. And then the first couple of American Ninja Warriors, like, I don't like that much because they were so like backstory driven, and like this man's competing in honor of his aunt who got cancer. It's like, well, you know, and it's like, just show me the people running, thank you. Just show me the people. But what I was seeing more of was like, well, Jessie Graff is a professional stunt woman. Like she, you know, what poor schmuck has to compete against her running this course? It's like, she's literally Supergirl.
That's awesome.
And so things like that, you know, it's like I'm surprised they would take her, because in my head, like, she's already so high on the scale. It's like, won't she naturally be amazing? But that's going to make good TV. But you know, to harken back to the original Ninja Warrior over in Japan, it's like, I also want to see this gas station attendant like do amazing too.
Yeah, that's great.
It's like when you, because to think like, I could do that, especially when it comes to like, you see, like, just when you think like it can't get any harder, there's no way they could think of an obstacle harder than that. You know, and then the next year comes around and it's just like, what is that? And how does a human being even like look at something like that and go, yeah,
here's how
that's
it
cool,
goes.
I can do it. Because like I remember, like, you know, the way back quote unquote 5 years ago, when Ninja Warrior first started like really hitting, like there was the spider wall. Like that was always the one that like I was like, oh my god, how do you even like that? They make it look so easy. They make it look so like I remember at first they could just like walk up to it, I think, and then they then they put the trampoline.
Oh, the trampoline.
Yeah. And then like, you know, they make like they don't necessarily have the new ones. Like they will improve upon like previous, like the warped wall.
Yeah.
Like eventually it's just going to be a circle. Like
they keep upping the head of the wall.
It's just crazy. Like, have you had the opportunity to like train on those types of obstacles before?
I have, actually. Every now and again when I have enough money, actually, I go to different parkour gyms. There's another parkour gym in West Hartford Parkour, and they've got grip strength related stuff for American Ninja Warrior. You can identify that it's for American Ninja Warrior, but it's not a full course. But besides that, they also have 3 different level warped walls. Now, the gymnastics gym that I coach at, we've also got a Ninja Warrior course, and it's actually very cool. It's like a full-size course. They've got a warped wall with it as well, but it's not a full-size warped wall.
Yeah.
So being able to go check out that full-size warped wall at West Hartford Parkour was great. It was also actually intimidating. I was a little scared, but I know I can do it now.
When I was looking at some of your posts and previous stuff, and I'd see like you at different gyms and like so many different, and I was wondering, like, do you travel to these on your own, or like are these stops that you were able to make like while touring, or like what gets you to, you know, to venture out to all these different places like across the country?
So when I was on tour, it's so cool. I was basically getting paid to train, do exactly what I already do. But yeah, while I was on tour, I visited a lot of trampoline parks or gymnastic open gyms, or an open gym that we did one time at a cheerleading gym. But yeah, we did a lot of open gyms in different places around the country when I was on tour. Aside from that, before going on tour or while I'm home, I'm in contact with a lot of the different parkour gyms that surround the Connecticut, Massachusetts area. So once again, when I get the time, I just kind of travel out on my own. Or if there's like a big competition or a big parkour jam, then that's when I'll go out with a bunch of friends and take advantage of that time to go train.
Do the jams or the competitions? Do they hire like a videographer so you can take them a highlight reel?
I don't know if they hire a videographer, but they do have people who are like on site recording the entire thing. I don't know if they're hired, is what I'm trying to say.
Right, yeah.
Sounds like a market. Get into that.
I know some people who are really good filmers.
Well, it's like my
It's not a right term.
like I have friends who old friends used to they would ride dirt bikes. They'd race dirt bikes, in leagues or whatever. And there's always like the photographers, and it's like, hey, I took your picture, blah blah blah. You can see your pictures on the website. You can buy the pictures. So it'd be cool, hey, I'm going to the this competition. I filmed you. That could also be kind of iffy. Like, I filmed you. Do you want to buy it?
There's a guy who used to do. There's a guy who would do one of the Ren fairs in the state, and he'd just walk up to you sometimes and hand you a card, and the card says, "I shot you." And on the back, it's like, photographer, get your pictures here.
Right.
It's like, oh, okay. But there was like a private link that with password access.
Yeah, typically, like, I know, just speaking of my friends who would ride dirt bikes, like, if you went to the website to go get the pictures of yourself, there was like the massive watermark.
Yeah.
If you want watermark free, you got to pay up. But it was always really neat. But like, it's is there? You mentioned you were just in a competition. I mean, I guess with the weather getting cold, I don't know if the competition's kind of ramped down, but like, if someone were interested and wanted to go see something like this, what would be like the easiest way for them, aside from Google? But like, is there a way for someone who might be thinking about getting into this to like make their entry?
Now, are you asking about spectating at a competition or just starting parkour?
Both. Like, if they're curious about like spectating or maybe even getting into it themselves.
Okay.
Like, do you have any like advice for like beginners?
Honestly, as it stands now, I feel like Facebook is the easiest way to find out. I literally went on Facebook and just kind of typed in parkour competitions and found all the events that are happening in the area, or as far as Jersey.
Right.
As far out as Jersey, I should say. But yeah, I feel like Facebook makes it easy for you. You go on Google and type in parkour competitions, and it'll kind of bring up parkour competitions that have happened and then show you videos of them versus helping you find events.
That's one thing Facebook is good for.
Events, yeah. Who knew?
we were just talking about like how our post, the algorithm is way down and we don't get many hits and views, but like I could see the events actually being useful.
Word.
So that's nice. I dig that. Thanks.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna get started on that right away.
I just think it would be something, because like I imagine a lot of people, like, it just takes you a little bit of effort to try, but I'm not one who might be very good at that kind of thing. But I'd be super interested to watch it. Like, I think it'd be just incredible to see, like I only see it in movies,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Everyone credit, was it Casino Royale?
Yes.
The Bond with the parkour in it, and which everyone freaked out about. Like, that introduced a lot of people to it. So I think to see something like that live, with like a diverse group of people, not just men in suits.
Yeah.
When people come, like, you said you've only done 2 competitions. I don't know how many you've watched, online or whatever. But do people just try and be comfortable and casual, or like do they wear costumes
For competitions?
It's like a uniform.
Because when we had Scott on, and one of my questions for Scott when he's teaching, and I was like, so how many of the kids come in wearing Assassin's Creed hoodies or something? And he's like, oh, it's required. He was joking, but like, he's listing off, like, we ask him what their inspiration is, and they say Assassin's Creed is one, Mirror's Edge, Prince of Persia. He doesn't play many games, but he knew all these games because they all reference like what they're doing.
Yep.
And like, there's been videos of like amazing parkour guys. Did I say carpour?
You said carpour.
I just spoonerized the word.
You did it.
I didn't mean to do it.
It's taking over.
But like, they're doing all this free running wearing like a full Assassin's Creed gear, and
Okay.
it looks really awesome.
I think it's cool.
So I wasn't sure if like people legit do that, you know.
In competitions, no, but at the same time, yes. I say no because they won't show up in Assassin's Creed outfits.
Yeah.
But one of my one of my inspirations in my early years of training was a guy named Johann Zephyr Leroux. He's a French freerunner, a part of the team called French Freerun Family.
Was he one of the first ones, or
He was, I don't know.
because I remember hearing that like the movement came out of France.
Yeah.
And there was like this one guy that like really majored.
He's a
in
part
it.
of one of the first big teams in France.
Okay.
But back in 2012, back in 2012, I believe that was 2010. But 2012 was the third year that Red Bull decided to host the Red Bull Art of Motion, which is the world's biggest parkour competition. And Johann Zephyr Leroux had performed he went and competed in that competition.
Yeah.
Now, back to the whole idea of costumes. He didn't really wear costumes, but he was so outside of the box. His idea was to be like a cat. So I still to this day don't know what material it was made out of or how he made it, but he made himself a cattail that worked perfectly with all forms of how he moved. It was
Really?
the coolest thing ever. I was so inspired. I thought it was a monkey tail for a long time.
Huh.
I think it was great.
That's really cool.
Subtle but effective.
I immediately think we're comic geeks. So if you've ever seen artist Tim Sale drawing Batman books, when he draws Catwoman, his version of Catwoman has a tail.
Okay.
And like he always manages to draw her tail effectively displaying the movement she's doing.
Oh, cool.
So if she's standing still, it's kind of like a little curve and wispy. But if she's dashing or climbing, it's like straight out. And, you know, he's really able to use that to define her motion.
Mm-hmm. As if the tail is a part of her.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's really cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So that's the first thing I thought of when you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's similar to how Zephyr wore his, like, that's how his tail kind of worked.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like animatronic or anything. It was just like a piece of fabric that was great at flowing with his movement.
That's cool. Neat.
Did he win?
Yes, he did win a lot of competitions.
And you mentioned that was with Red Bull, right?
Yes, Red Bull Art of Motion.
Those Red Bull. They sponsor like they sponsor, you know, they do the parkour. They do a lot of like even like the those really fast planes.
Yeah. The
God, those are terrifying. I saw a GIF of it on Reddit the other day. Apparently, there's like, because at one point the guy like cranks to do like the flip back and go back through it, and like he has a screen like a gauge that shows how many G's he's pulling.
Right.
And at one point it flashed like red, and like people were commenting like, "Oh, that's." Because a bunch of people were like, why does he need that? He obviously knows how, you know, what he's pulling. Like, he's a professional. And like, no, like there's rules where if you pull over 10 G's for more than like half a second, you're disqualified.
Huh.
Oh.
Like, yeah. So like, and you can see him adjust like the second, obviously the millisecond it goes red, he's like off the stick.
Huh.
Like it was crazy. But they also, the Red Bull sponsors like,
the Flugtag, which is just ridiculous.
yep, they do that. They do the, they sponsor like fighting game or like players like you know, it's just
Oh, I know Brett's shown us a bunch of breakdancing ones too.
Yep.
Just going to mention that. They also sponsored tricking, like extreme skiing, snowboarding, all kinds of crazy. I like that they sponsor freestyle movement out of all of the sports. That's
stuff
really
that might be tough to get sponsored in. You know,
Yeah.
like it's not like
yeah.
you know,
You're not-
Mountain Dew might.
Go to your local friendlies and be like, so here's what I do. Can
Right.
you-"
Yeah, I'm sponsored by like Adidas. You know, like it's like, well, they're gonna go to the big. You know, but
Do you have anything in your head specifically that you feel you want to train on and get better at to progress your career and your possibilities in the future?
I had mentioned earlier that my overall goal is to be a stunt actor. Something that I've been thinking about doing a lot more often for the sake of acting experience is getting back into musicals. Yeah, I'd like to do that so I can kind of understand the language of being an actor. Like as a parkour athlete, I eat, breathe, sleep parkour. And I'd love to be able to do that as an actor so that I can kind of combine the passions and then push towards my goal of being a stunt actor.
That's a much more eloquent answer than I thought you were going to have. It'd be like, I need to kick higher, I guess. I don't know.
I want to do 3 backflips in 5 seconds.
It's not something as easy as like, well, you need better martial arts. You need.
I
Better,
mean, I can
know.
go out to the car and get my notebook full of skills that I want to.
I want to hear every one of those.
When you say like in the last couple minutes that we have here, like when you say stunt actor, like I'm super like someone like Jackie Chan comes to mind. Am I right in that? Like, is that like
Precisely.
for people like me who are stupid, who might be like who do you look up to as far as like stunt actors go? Like, you know, as far as that kind of genre.
I look up to a lot of Asian stunt actors. Like, okay, not a lot of Asians. I look up to people like, or I look up to Jackie Chan, because he's a great example. He does all of his own stunts.
Yeah.
Like, and they are some ridiculous stunts.
Just
that he's
crazy.
Tony Jaa, because even though he's a martial artist, he understands his spatial awareness, so he's able to put high level flips into his skill, into his action. Lateef Crowder, he's a capoeira based fighter who can also tumble, but he does a lot more capoeira. I'm only interested in him because my style is based around capoeira, which is the Brazilian martial art of dance. Let's see who else. And then I like looking up to young performers or young actors like Taylor Lautner, or who else? I don't remember his name, but he's the actor who's been the main character in the Maze Runner movies.
Okay.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Which I've only seen the first one. So into that movie.
The movie was great.
Because I worked at a bookstore for 10 years, so we sold the books like crazy, and like they're young adult books, like teen books.
Yeah.
So I haven't read a whole lot of those that genre, and like the teen dystopian, you know, oh, it's X amount of years in the
There's
future,
so many
everything is
dystopian
terrible.
books.
Yeah, and then like a friend of mine was like, hey, we got the Maze Runner. I was like, really, the Maze Runner? And I went over and I was like, the Maze Runner. This is amazing. It was crazy. It was, and then the eyebrow kid. You ever Google the eyebrow kid? You get exactly what you're looking for. You look in the Maze Runner with the eyebrows, like. But yeah, I can't remember his name either, and for some reason I forgot I'm confused with the kid who plays Spider-Man with Tom Holland, but that's not Tom Holland.
Are you talking about Newt? What's his name?
I can't
He's
remember.
like the blonde kid, right?
He's like the bully in the beginning.
Oh, that eyebrow kid.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Then he gets kind of messed up toward the end, but yeah, I've only seen the first one. I haven't finished them yet. Anyways,
so I'm really happy for you. I'm impressed, and but coming from a position of someone who my job is throwing boxes,
right?
And then I lucky enough I've been able to talk on a podcast for 300 episodes.
Amen.
But I want to throw some advice.
Okay.
Just from things that I've seen and experienced, and because thankfully from doing this podcast, we've talked to a lot of people and been able to go to a lot of places and see a lot more people and ask questions of a bunch of people. And most of the time for people who are trying to, break into their thing and their specific, career, and they want to, make a go at something, recently nowadays, there's so much available to you that people are finding it easier to try and learn everything themselves. Because we listened to a writer give a talk at Steampunk World's Fair, and I was her the musicians, and they were like, so yeah, go to your school and get your writing credits and and get all this done, but also take a business class, take a marketing class.
I think that was Gil Carriger, the author. Yeah,
and it's because you have to, with what's available to you now on the internet and all the platforms of social media, learning how to market yourself is important. So learn how to do that. But also, if you don't want to hire a manager, you have to finance yourself. So take some business financing classes and then learn how to do that. So you have this, that you can take care of yourself for the entire way, up until you need help for that. And I watched, there's a YouTube girl named Anna Akana She was at the end of Ant-Man. she had like a 2-minute part where she's like she connected Ant-Man and the Falcon.
Oh.
But like she does a bunch of YouTube videos, and she wants to be an actress. Like she's an actress, but like not like super big screen. But she's learned everything herself. She's learned lighting setup. She's learned special effects. She's learned voiceover. She's learned editing, and all the stuff. Like if she wants to do it, she's trying to do it herself. So she has a way to get her foot in the door, And she's been making her own videos, for a couple of years now. But, that's what a lot of people are finding out they have to do. Like, if I need to get out there, like me performing, and then trusting someone else to capture it, and then edit it, and then set it to music, like. It's good to have friends. Like we're lucky we have friends who've done some of that for us.
I agree.
But at the same time, like, at some point you still have to know what you need to cover on under your own hands, but as long as you're cool, hopefully with luck, there's people who want to be cool to you. I'm using the word cool a lot. But like
it's the best way of putting it though.
When
it's true.
We have friends of the show, Bob and Jared, they're film guys, they're amazing. And so they'll come to me and be like, Alex, we need some makeup. And I'll be like, I'll do your makeup. And so I'll make something for them and they go, what's it gonna be? And I'm like, it's nothing, let's trade. We're gonna barter. And they go, all right. And so like a year later or so I go, guys, I have an idea of a makeup I want to do. Can you film it? And they go, yeah, we'll film it. And we make these trades this way because they're cool, they're great people. And I think I'm all right. And,
yeah, well,
but there's a lot of trust involved, and there's along with take, there's a lot of give.
That's a good build on relationships.
Yeah,
to have relationships that way. That's actually very cool.
As far as I don't know if there's anything that you wanted to plug, where people might be able to see, like if you have any upcoming competitions that you might be not performing at, competing in. Anything like that? Anything where people might be able to find you?
I am most active on Instagram. I will be restarting to post on my YouTube page, which is Joshua Williams. You can find me on YouTube. You can also find me on Facebook at Joshua Williams. I guess you'll have to figure out how to look at me and find out what I look like to find me, because there's a lot of Joshua Williams. It's a very basic name. But on Instagram, you can find me at Josh the Misfit. Josh, TheMisfit. All one word, no extra characters. And yeah.
Cool. I gotta say, this was fantastic. It was an absolute pleasure to meet you, and I gotta say thanks so much for giving us your Thursday night, because this was a lot of fun, man.
Thank you for allowing me to talk about what I like.
Absolutely, man. It was. If only I could lose weight. Don't trust me. I have a lot of excuses. But it was an absolute pleasure, man. And I hope it's hopefully I'll be able to see you like maybe in Black Panther 2. I'm actually I'm looking forward to it.
God willing. It's gonna work out.
But
just throw us some thanks when you get up there. Just like, hey, remember that
if I didn't do that one podcast in that guy's room with the Lobo,
I'm gonna be like blasting this all over Facebook. Like, hey guys, I was just here. Tune in next week.
And then I'll be in Black Panther 2. Exactly. But that's right, man. Congratulations on all of your past successes. Anything that's coming up in the future. Just wish nothing but the best. But I guess that's gonna do it, right? I'm pretty much out.
Yep.
We've gone for an hour. We've filled out. Yeah, that's done.
Cool.
All right, everybody. So until next time, I have been JR.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Joshua Williams.
And this has been episode 301 of Opinions May Vary.